What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Hybrid Ministry Show. I, as always, am your host, Nick Clayson. And I'm really excited today because I got the one and only Josh Boldman. He works at DYM now. He also has years of experience in youth ministry. And so we are going to interview Josh today. Well, what's up, everybody? I'm here with Josh Boldman. Josh, how you doing this morning, bro?
I am good, man. How are you doing?
I'm great. I'm glad to have you on. The long-awaited Josh Boldman interview.
Mm-hmm. Most podcasts are still waiting. I just want to make it very clear.
Oh man, I feel like I'm in an exclusive club.
Yeah,
or something. So
they just don't know. They don't know it yet, but they're still waiting.
Yeah, they definitely are. But not me, not us. Josh, tell the people who are you and how did you get to where you are today?
Oh my gosh. Okay, it all started on a cold winter. No. Okay, so I have right now. So I'll start with where I'm at. Right now, I am the team lead for Co-Leader, which is a part of the Download Youth Ministry family. I also lead in the Sidekick arena, which is our presentation software. We'll get to that. But that's only been for about the last year. Before that, I spent somewhere in the neighborhood of right at about 20 years in student ministry as a youth pastor or youth minister or student pastor or student ministries director or any of the other myriad ways that you can describe it. But I did that, gosh, from Florida to Illinois to tiny little churches to big old churches to single site to multi-site to we do youth ministry on Sunday morning to we do youth ministry on Wednesday nights like normal people do, all that, so it's just kind of been all over the place. But for the last 10, I'll say 10, it's probably like 6, but I'll say 10 years, I've been an author with DY. Yeah, it's like, how many kids were there? 400. I don't know. It was too many to count. But yeah, so I've been an author with DYM, putting resources like games and teaching content and countdowns and videos and stuff together for DYM. And about a year ago, they had somebody that was going on maternity leave, and they were like, "Hey, you want to cover for that person?" I was like, "Yeah, I do." And then I spent all 90 days of that maternity leave trying to make it where there was literally no way they could let me go afterward, and it worked.
Nice.
It absolutely worked. It was dicey for about 45 days, and then I was like, nah, I think I got this. So she came back, and I was not asked to pack up and leave. So that has worked out for me.
Everybody. You didn't push her out of the job either.
No, it's kind of great, actually. Yeah. So it's been a ride this last year. Co-Leader has transitioned from a platform where you can plan ministry to a full-blown annual curriculum. We've launched Sidekick, which is now in beta. We had Sidekick Legacy, which was a standalone app. Now it's built in the browser, so you open it in Chrome and you can play play your presentation literally anywhere. We did that all within a year. I mean, it's like literally anything we could have done. We decided, we were like, hey, you know what if we just take everything we ever want to do and we just jam it all into one calendar year?
Well, we got this guy now who's covering for this girl on maternity leave, and now we can't let him go, so we need to get our money's worth out of him. That's
we have so many staff. We have so many. And now we need to have them do things. So
man, I got to say though, there's no pitch, no kickback, none of this. I love Co-Leader and I love Sidekick, and I made our church, I think I told you this, but we'll tell everyone else, I made our church buy 2 computers so that we could run Pro Presenter, because the musicians need the confidence monitor, not what's on the screen mirror, but what's coming. So whatever, that's valid.
So they don't practice, is what you're telling
me. Exactly.
And they're ill prepared.
So I had to give them what they needed. I had to give the musicians, throw them a bone. But I made them buy another computer and a Blackmagic video switcher, and we run everything else now off of Sidekick. And so
So what I'm hearing you say is because of the worship ministry, you guys have to rely on dark magic. Oh, black magic. Oh, it's a
Yeah,
company. It's a
black.
company.
Yeah. Hmm.
That's different. Okay. All right. I mean, I wouldn't have been surprised either way.
Yeah, yeah, either way. But
Yeah.
I love I love a lot of things about it, but my favorite part about it is the phone
Hmm.
integration, right?
Yeah.
And we played last week like a game, like a multiple choice game, and they could literally play on their phones. And it was the
Hmm.
first time I'd used that particular setting there in Sidekick, like the question with a quiz like type
Oh
of
yeah, like with the
integration.
correct answer. Yeah. Hmm.
Yes, and I loved that. That was super fun. So talk to me just a little bit about you jump in. Were
Yeah.
there rumblings and plans about Sidekick being revamped, or did you see some
Yeah.
of like those opportunities and be like, this is what I see in youth ministry as a youth pastor of
Hmm.
20 plus years, and now
Yeah.
I want to help kind of evolve it to the next stage. Like, give us that kind of background.
Yeah, so something that I is really funny because I don't know that many youth workers realize, although I feel like we should, is that software development takes billions of dollars and lots of time. And so when I started at Download Youth Ministry, the plan had already been we are revamping Sidekick. I'm just gonna peel back the curtain. You want to
Yeah,
know? You want to know? Yeah, sorry. All right,
yeah.
so the original app, all right, was written in a programming environment that got depreciated.
Mm.
All right, so it was built. Long story short, it was built on something called Chromium, and it is a like Sidekick Legacy is a work of art.
Hmm.
It was a game changer for me when I was in ministry. The spinning wheel boxes,
Yeah, it was one of a
the
kind. No one was
oh my
doing that.
gosh,
Yeah.
nobody was doing it, right? And then what happened about 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago now, is Chromium got depreciated, and we realized what that meant was there was now no way to update the legacy
Oh
app
no.
at all. Like
Yeah.
impossible, like
Yeah.
literally impossible. And and so it was like, okay, well, we can either rebuild a new one or we can take it in a different direction. And one of the really things that people hated was every time you open the legacy app, you have to sign in. Like every single time you had to type in the password.
That was a great
And I
feature.
I got into trouble one time. I was in front of our whole camp, like it was like 1,000 kids, right? And Sidekick was running, and then it crashed, and then they had to reopen it, and they're like, from the booth, they yell out, "What's the password?"
No.
And in front of 1,000 students, I had to say a password into the microphone. And here's the best part. You ready for this? It was the same password for everything.
Ah.
Like my bank account and all this stuff. So like I start teaching, and then I get off stage and I'm like, I gotta change every password
Oh
I've ever
man.
had. It was a nightmare. So we thought, okay, what is the best way to make this as portable as possible? So we went with putting it in the browser.
Yeah.
Which I'll be honest, I mean, it was basically like it was a trade-off, right? It gave us a lot of functionality as far as portability, as far as syncing.
Yeah.
But there are trade-offs, right?
Yeah.
Like Google Chrome, both Google, Safari, Apple, Firefox, they all have different rules about like window management. And so like you'll know, like when you open Sidekick and you go to present, you have to drag the window over
Hmm.
to your other browser. Like that's not ideal, right?
No.
We
Well,
know
that's why
that.
we have a video switcher now.
That's why, right?
Yeah.
That's why we as Christians rely on
Dark
black magic.
magic.
That's what it is. And so there are some trade-offs for sure. But what we started realizing was the pitch that we started telling people that I think it really kind of clicked for people how different was good is we would tell them, like, we would show them what we could do with voting, with spinning wheel, with pick me, like the main ideas. And he said what's really cool is I can create this presentation. I can immediately, as soon as I add an element to a slide, I can close the laptop, I can break it over my knee, I can set it on fire and throw it in the ocean, and then I can just go to church, open the computer, and it's there. Like
Yeah.
it does not miss a beat.
You
That's
probably have
huge.
to
Like that
open the
is.
computer at church though, because yours is gone. It's in the ocean
Oh
now.
yeah, no. Yeah, there's no recovering from it. Really, at the
It's
point of
not
setting it on
Sidekick's not
fire.
that good yet.
Yeah, no, I mean, yeah.
Yet.
But yeah, so it's being able to sync and being able to go remote. That's awesome. But then when we started showing people, hey, all you have to do is the same thing you did to log in on your computer, do that on your phone. And what
Mm-hmm.
it does is it turns your phone into a remote for
Mm-hmm.
the exact same presentation that's running on your presentation computer. And I mean, just suddenly being able to, when you're doing polls on your phone, you can see the results
Mm-hmm.
before they're even shown on the screen. You can go to next, go back. You can do slide notes. You can, I mean, really any of the functionality that's there, except for editing on the computer, you can do that literally on your phone in real time. Because I don't know if you've ever, I mean, certainly you've never been in this situation where you have a sixth grader who is so well intentioned, is like, I want to run the computer. And you're
Yeah.
like, yes, that is a thing a sixth grader can do. You can hit the space bar.
Yeah.
And then they don't. They just don't hit the space bar. And so like I would always use it as just like my phone was, I wasn't necessarily always running it, but it was my fallback. Like it
Yeah.
was like, okay, that kid in the back. There was one time, I swear to you, right? At an unnamed church that I worked at for a while. Um, I remember once, so I would always try. So I was a student ministry director there, and so I would always try, like I was either teaching or whatever, but I would always try to do. Anytime I wasn't teaching, I would try to do something else. So like anytime I wasn't teaching, I would be in the booth, or I
Yeah.
would
Yeah.
be, doing the game, or whatever. But so this one time I'm in the booth, and the lyrics for the songs are not firing on time, and I kind of, so I'm like leaning over and I'm looking. The kid is watching Star Wars, the movie, like an actual movie on his phone.
Not a TikTok,
While
not a YouTube
no,
video. The
it is a
2 hour movie.
full-blown 2 hour movie with subtitles, and he is holding his phone like straight to his face because the subtitles are so small. And I'm like, hey, I know you're looking at that because words are important. However, everyone else in the room is looking up here because words are important. So maybe, I don't know.
That's
Just
a
jump on that.
that's a win right
Uh,
there.
yeah. So, but being able to, when you're on stage and things go wrong, there are like a couple of options, and one of them is to make the person in the booth feel really bad, and that is never the right option, right? It's never to call attention to the person who messed
No,
up,
but we
right?
want
So,
to sometimes.
oh, oh yes. Yes, we do. But being able to just say, okay, I've got my phone here. Hey, they missed a cue. No
That's
worry.
cool.
I'm
I
just gonna
got
jump
it.
in. Like
Yeah.
that was the game changer for
Mm.
me. And so now we're just on this journey of trying to reach full parity between the legacy version and what is right now belovingly called the beta version of Sidekick, until it has all the same features.
Yeah.
But what we're finding is that is, like I said, the original, the legacy is a work of art, and right now we are working on boxes, and that is in the browser proving to be
A challenge.
challenging. Yeah,
Yeah.
it is. It's just, it's one of those things, like you wouldn't think, like even when the first go around, we did wheel and pick me, right?
Mm-hmm.
Those were the first two things. And so with the wheel, you know, you think how it's a spinning wheel. Like
Yeah.
there's nothing complicated here. Oh, but there is, friend, because pixels are square. Yeah, I don't know if you knew that or not, but pixels are square. So when you try and rotate them around a center axis, yeah. It's one of those things, like you think you got it, and then suddenly you're like, oh, that looks really bad, and so then it's like you have to go right back to the drawing board, and so yeah. So right now we're working on boxes. It's taking a little longer than we had hoped, but
But
the
you're
cool thing
working
is
with square pixels now, so
square
at
pixels. We
least
know what we're doing.
yeah.
Yes. Wouldn't it be funny if, like, in the like when it was the wheel, we had a problem because it was squares, but then like we're like, all right, now we're gonna move to boxes, and like just the world like was like, what we figured out? Round pixels are better, and it was like,
No.
no.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
but no, yeah. So we got boxes in the pipeline. We hear, and I know anybody that knows Sidekick already, their first question that they have been asking is, what about Survey Says, which is our Family Feud builder,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And that one is it's coming. It's event like, but
It all takes time. Yeah.
it all takes time. And best way anybody that can help me, go to sidekick.tv. There's a link there where you can submit ideas and requests, and you can even vote on other people's. I mean, that always helps us know kind of what's next.
Yeah.
But yeah,
we'll drop it
so
down
I mean, we're
below.
loving it, dude.
Yeah.
Oh, and I mean, I know it's starting to sound like a commercial, and I apologize, but it's one of those things, because it's just so fun. Is when one of the most recent things we did was we connected everyone's DYM accounts, so the Download Youth Ministry. If you buy something there, it just automatically shows up. That
was awesome.
Sweet. Because I mean, it used to be, I don't know. I mean, you make games for DYM that are video based, right? And when you do that, those files are massive. Like, I mean, it's not uncommon for a game to be 3-4 gigabytes, but it's also 3 or 4 gigabytes of, that's 20-30 videos for the game. And so then adding each of those in is kind of a nightmare. And so what we figured out a way to do it is we do it on our end once, and then when you buy it, it shows up in your library. You click on it and it's just in. That is, man, I'm telling you, I never have to worry about losing a thumb drive ever again.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if you know this or not, but I don't know where my thumb drive is right now. And I lost it in 1997. So
sounds like there were some important things on there. Maybe.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, it was I don't know, something called Bitcoin. I don't remember.
You could have been rich. You wouldn't even have to be here right now. Well, I'll tell you what, of all the things, like all the things you're talking about, there's phone usage on both sides, right? So if you're presenting, you can use your phone as a remote, but if you're watching, you're in the audience, there are like integrations where there's like voting and games and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And I think that's my favorite part. Like as a youth pastor now for over 10 years, like I've always been trying to figure out how to get ourselves in youth ministry like relevant to where students are, as opposed to like when they're at church, make them do something that's so completely foreign to like their current culture, right? Like youth culture, like they're all messaging one another through their phones. They're all like consuming news articles and social media through their phones. And then we get to church, and like the church I was at, like when I started the previous regime, no shade, but they had like phone lockers. Like they would take kids' cell phones and lock them. And and what we're doing, in my opinion, is like, okay, so we're just trying to modify their behavior, but we haven't actually like changed their true, authentic like desire to like be here and listen. We just want them quieter for us. And like that, we should just be better. And so y'all start rolling out all this stuff on Sidekick. And I'm like, here's an opportunity for us to use what is native to them in our environment, and in a way that doesn't like break the bank anymore. Because to get some of these features through other third-party like platforms, you just don't have the money as a youth pastor. You know what I'm saying? In your budget, whatever the case might be. So that's my favorite part. And so I would love it if you would talk about not just necessarily like the Sidekick integration, but what has been your experience in your unique perspective as a youth pastor with what we've done in youth culture, and how like we've then asked them to come to church culture, and how they're like oil and water sometimes. Like how can we reach students better and find ourselves where they are, which is online, on phones, all those things.
I mean, okay, so you remember, when I was growing up, and especially early in my ministry, it was always the thing was you were always fighting against like travel sports, right? Like that was like the bane of youth ministry existence, was like,
and we still are, really, by the way. To be clear.
No doubt. But it was like, I don't know. There was like a point where I think we got tired of seeing no results from shaming those kids. Like, it's like, you want to play travel ball? Well, play travel ball with the devil. It's like that doesn't help anybody when all we're doing is making, or like, oh, you have a phone? Go lock it up, because it's it's like that doesn't.
It's
Like
a just yeah.
what does that do? All that does is like when you're locking up a kid's phone, I feel like the way that you can know that it's not working is as soon as the time like that lockdown is over, what's the very first thing they do? They run to go get it.
Yeah,
Which
check
means
it.
that it was on their mind still. So it's not like you really saved, them any trouble or any like you didn't gain anything by pulling it away, because their attention is still stuck on it. So really what I think is we're seeing right now in youth ministry as a whole, in what we're trying to do with Sidekick is really we're trying to figure out ways to engage students literally where they are. And so, gosh, have you did you ever do camps where the rule was the kids couldn't even bring their phone to camp?
I never did.
No.
I could have, right? But I
Yeah.
never made.
Mhm.
I've always run my own camp, so I make the
Yeah.
rules. So
Yep.
and I've always been in churches or youth ministries where the goal is to bring kids who don't go to our church to camp.
Uh-huh.
And like
Yeah.
I'm not gonna get a kid and their family who's never met me send their kid like hours away without a lifeline back to their
yeah.
kids.
Oh, no.
So I've never
Yeah.
tried to fight that battle.
But it was funny because we used to almost use that like as an advertisement. We were like, come to camp where you get away from your phone, and kids are like, I don't want to do
Yeah.
that,
Yeah.
And so like there was a point where I think maybe 20 years ago you probably could do it, but even now it's not even just the kid, it's the parents that are like, I'm not sending my kid without their phone. What's wrong with you?
Yeah.
So what we decided to do with Sidekick is like, okay, what if instead of constantly harping on, hey, put your phone away or go lock it up or don't even bring it, or trying to make it seem like the phone itself was the enemy. What if we decided to say like, hey, we understand that phone, it's an extension of you now. Like that just I mean, and that I think you can get really like dystopian, like Blade Runner type vibes from like the phone is an extension of you, but it is. Mine is an extension of me. Like, I mean, I literally, if I don't know when the last time I walked out of my house without my phone was. Like, It's not just because I didn't forget it. It's because if it's not in my pocket, it feels like I'm missing something. Like I feel like I know I'm missing it,
and you're gonna need it. Like it's your calendar, it's your wallet, it's your navigation, it's your everything. Like it. So it's become so much. That's my argument. Is like this. It's not going anywhere. So we can try our hardest as youth pastors and churches to fight against culture, but it's a losing battle eventually. And it's not like, oh, let's give in to culture because it's evil.
Right. No.
It's how do we take this thing that is not moral, it's not morally right or morally wrong, but how do we take this thing and just use it as a tool?
Yeah.
It's
a tool. 100%.
Brilliant tool that we would have died for 15, 20 years ago. Like, I was talking on the last episode, like we didn't have group chats 15 years ago. If you wanted to talk to your student, you talked to them when they came to your building, and that was it. But now you can do pastoral care. You can, and it just do a basic thing like texting. We're not even talking about something like software development, right?
Nope. Yep.
So
one of the things that has been really cool to experiment with, and we've seen a couple people do this really well, is using like polls. Like, okay, so there are different ways you can use it, but so say as you're teaching, if you're saying something that is gonna fly right over their heads, right? Pausing literally at that moment and asking the question, hey, did you catch that? And yes or no, like literally something super simple, like, did you catch that? Yes or no. And then adjusting what you say next based on their response. Or we've even seen people take their entire services in like a choose your own adventure type approach where, I mean, and as it seems minor, but it's something like, hey, we've got the worship team has 2 songs that they prepared, but we're only going to do one. Hey, you all that are here, which one you want to do? Or I've done a couple teaching times where like, so every youth pastor has like their like bag of tricks, like the song or the stories that they tell, that it's like, okay, I can tell this story like drop of a hat. And so like I'll start with like right at the beginning of a message will say, hey guys, I can tell you one of 3 stories, one when I got hit by a car, one when I accidentally killed my girlfriend's cat, and one when I stubbed my toe. And so like you take your pick, and just let them pick, and it doesn't change anything about where that message is going, but letting them have a moment where they can speak into it. Like, I guarantee you, when the room picks the story, the room pays attention to the story more.
Yeah.
Or even at the end, it'd be a great way to really, especially if you're trying to reach students that are not familiar with church a lot, like that aren't around a lot, is at the end of the message, just saying like, hey, on a scale of 1 to 5, how much do you agree with what you just heard? Can you imagine? And live results on the screen. Like, hey, okay. So, but can you imagine how much that might change your small group conversations that are going to happen right after the lesson? If you suddenly see like, oh, we just talked about this, and 80% of the room says, I don't agree. Okay, great. Then let's go to our small groups and let's hash this mess out. Or I think that there's stuff like that. Or you could even say, if you're doing a series, you could say, hey, here are the 4 weeks of the series. We did the intro this week. Which one do you want to hear about next week? And let them pick where you're going to go, and then you have a whole week to figure out how to get there. But I guarantee you, those students that voted are going to be more likely to be there if they know what you're talking about and they actually helped get to choose what that was going to be. I think there's a lot there, and we're working. I'd love to say like we're working like it's like in development right now, but it's like, I mean, one of the things on the docket is being able to have students from their seat ask questions, be able to give feedback, in real time, so that you, as you're standing there on the platform with your phone, that you're able to see the questions as they come in. We're trying to figure out things like how to moderate those things, because I don't know about you, but if you ask open-ended questions and just have the answers up on the screen
without
you might get some
filtering,
inappropriate answer. I don't know. I mean, the students that I've ever worked with are always saints, so they would not do that. But I would imagine yours.
Well, what's crazy is like, here's another like just interesting youth culture-ism. Like, I was working at a church in Chicago, and it was very like, it prided itself on, we reach people who are far from God. And so, that's going to come with a certain like type of student. And now I'm in the Bible Belt in Dallas, Texas. And it's like, it prides itself on being like the church for Christians almost. And like the kids, the students, they're the same. Like, it's
no doubt, right?
That's the crazy thing, is what the internet has done is it's leveled that like playing field of like certain cultures. Their youth culture is very consistent now, in despite the demographic. And so the unique part is not our students. The unique part is helping our parents understand that the students are still the same. So
something we've seen that's actually really cool that somebody was doing was they were using the live polls in their lobby for parents to answer as they were dropping their kids off.
That's cool.
And it was very cool. It was like and it was some like minor stuff that was like, what time is your middle schooler's bedtime? Like 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, just pick one. Stuff like that. And it was minor, but again, it's not just that you get individuals to engage, but the fact that everybody can see the responses as it goes. I think there's a lot of even still some untapped potential there
I think
for how to help people engage.
Yeah, I think we went to a conference a while back, and they're talking about the differences in generational ways of thinking. And like one of the things, and I think this is true despite like being an older generation of like all of us, but like Gen Z, Gen Alpha, like they're just looking to be known individually. Like they don't want to be part of like a sea of numbers, right? And so when you are in a bigger context and you have 100,000 kids, like it's hard for them to stand out, and stuff like this helps them get to just speak their voice, right? And they get to play a role, and even if they're voting for something and their choice doesn't get picked, like they were heard. And
Right.
that's all it needs to be. It doesn't have to always go their way, you know, and there's probably some opportunity for them to learn some life lessons and stuff in there, but just realizing like, hey, we're doing all this for you, but what do you want? Like that's, I don't know, that's the key. So Josh, as we wind this sucker down, like final thoughts, final words, what if anything's like burning on your soul to get out there?
Man, all right. Well, I'm glad you asked, Nick. Okay. Here's the thing: I think we need to not be afraid of what our students want, and we need to not be afraid of them expressing their opinion, and we need to not be afraid of them disagreeing with each other or with us. I think that is, where we are heading is a world that values a diversity of opinion and the value placed on each of those opinions is crucial. And so, like, I mean, I think people really can very easily get confused into thinking that means that every opinion is right or that every opinion carries the same weight. That's not at all what it means, but I think there is I think we do ourselves and honestly the gospel a misservice when we or a disservice. I don't think misservice is a word. A disservice when we say here is the correct answer. We don't even want to hear anything else because our students are coming into our environments with their own opinions and own presuppositions. And yes, they probably heard them all from the same TikTok channel. Like that's fine, but they all still want it. They want to be heard. And so I think anytime we can even begin to open the door to showing them that we value what they are walking in with, I think just builds credibility in their eyes. I think in all honesty, I don't know. I would argue that most students they do not often find themselves in environments where their opinion is valued. So, I mean, whether that's school, I mean, and please don't hear me. Teachers are awesome, but it is tough especially when you have like a curriculum in a school environment. You're like, hey, I need you to learn this thing. Like, and there's not a lot of debate in biology, like it's just, this is where we're at, And so, but I think if we can create environments where we're inviting students into a conversation where their voice matters, whether that's a deep theological conversation or whether that is a game that is literally, hey, I need you to pick A, B, or C because it's a trivia question. Like that's it. Like, but still valuing what they bring to the table. I think that pays dividends in the long run in a massive, massive way. I mean, whether that's later in the small group or whether that's 10 years later, or, I'm at a point right now where kids, when I first started that were in 6th grade now have their own 6th graders. And that is awful. But it's the same thing is those kids are now in the place where they're deciding, am I going to bring my own kid to a youth group or not? And, and I think that the way we treat our students now will influence how they raise their own families and what that looks like for them in the future. So never underestimate how important it is for a student's voice to be valued.
Yeah. And what better spot in the world than for that to happen at church?
Crazy, right? Who'd have thought?
Yeah. Well, Josh, we're running out of time, but I appreciate you, man. Anywhere else people can find the Josh Boldman, like on the internet, they want to like untap some of these other thoughts and deeper musings of the world.
I don't know if deeper is going to be what they'll find, but all the social medias, it's at Josh Boldman. I know. I'm so glad it wasn't taken.
Yeah, you're lucky.
All right, I know, yeah. But then again, the Download Youth Ministry store. I mean, this is not to sell stuff, but like a lot of the stuff I've written really does reflect where I'm at. And so check out any of that stuff there. But
love it, man. Well, appreciate you being on, and everyone else. We'll talk next time.
All right, later, friends.